we were talking about, the Good Friday Agreement brought people out of conflict, moved people from violence into politics, where primarily the disagreements have stayed, and that's an enormous achievement. And one of the factors that made this all possible, one of the kind of key factors in the Good Friday Agreement was this strategic ambiguity, this idea that both sides could look at this very central question about whether Northern Ireland is going to remain part of Great Britain or will become part of a united Ireland. It was left in such a way that both communities were able to look at the future and think, the future's gonna go our way. And so in some ways that was really one of the keys to unlocking success at this period of time. But I wonder to what extent you were concerned about the fact that that question remained unanswered, you know, the constitutional status of Northern Ireland. And to what extent did you worry about it potentially becoming an issue again later? Or did you think that over time it would become a less relevant question? And how has that worked out from your perspective?
Yes. The Good Friday Agreement was a political compromise, reached among groups that had widely divergent views, widely divergent analyses of history as well as of the future. It is, like all human efforts, imperfect. I said on the day that I announced that it had been reached, that by itself the agreement did not guarantee peace, stability, or reconciliation. It made them possible, but I said there will be years and many difficult issues which have not been resolved in the agreement, which will have to be resolved by future leaders. But it represented as far as we could get at that time in those circumstances. The agreement itself specifically punted on a couple of major issues. We created 2 new commissions to examine issues in the future that we could not resolve. So by its very terms, it didn't answer every problem. The one you described, Meghan, is a central issue. Should Northern Ireland be part of the United Kingdom with England, Scotland, and Wales, or should it become part of a united Ireland? That was at the heart of the dispute. The Unionists, predominantly Protestant, wanted the Union. The Nationalists, predominantly Catholic, wanted a unified Ireland. What the agreement did was to establish the legitimacy of both aspirations and said that both sides are free to advocate for their view, provided they do so by democratic and nonviolent means. And it left that decision to be made by the people of Northern Ireland themselves. At any time, a referendum can be called on that question. It has never happened in the 17 years since the agreement because given the population figures where they are, with a majority of Protestants, given the continued segregation of the society, given the lack of genuine reconciliation, the outcome is inevitable. Now, nobody can say whether population will change, and if it does, whether that automatically will induce nationalists to seek a referendum, or whether what has already happened in the public opinion polls, attitudes will soften. Because the Catholics, nationalists, had been the objects of discrimination for most of the previous century, they were acutely concerned about and interested in housing, jobs, education. The Unionists, on the other hand, sought guarantees in constitutions and changes in law. At the time I was there, the public opinion polls reflected that in both communities, their position was held by over 95% on both sides. The Unionists wanted union, the Nationalists wanted a united Ireland. But polls have shown over the past 17 years that as discrimination has fallen by the wayside, as education, opportunity, housing, jobs have become available to more and more nationalists, their demand for a unified Ireland has gradually gone down, particularly when the Republic of Ireland went through a very serious economic difficulty. Meanwhile, the percentage of unionists who want to stay in the Union has remained very high. So population figures are critical, but not in and of themselves decisive. And I think what we did was to say, you both have a right to advocate for your view. We'll put it in writing, legitimizing both aspirations, but you have to do it with ballots, not bullets and bombs. And that's the major accomplishment. They're now fighting orally in a debate in a parliament as opposed to with bombs and guns out on the streets of Northern Ireland.